And we find the same thing in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, in the story of Thakur Haridas. Ram Chandra Khan was a very Gopal Chapala, Gopal Chakravarti. They were high Brahmins, very learned, very sophisticated, extremely pious. But they were envious. And Haridas Thakur was born in an untouchable family. But he surrendered. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would embrace Haridas and say, I'm embracing you because your body is so pure, I become purified by touching it. And Srila Prabhupada, he even would use examples like this sometimes. When he went to the Western world and he saw the way people were living, Malechas, Yavanas, and so many words described people from these lands. And according to tradition, a sannyasi, or a person who's actually living high level of spirituality, is not allowed to go to those lands because the people are so polluted. You lose your caste, you lose your consciousness. That's the conception. And Prabhupada went, and he saw all these little Kaliyas all over the place. And he gave them Krishna's name, which is none different than Krishna. And he had them rendering service to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. And in doing so, he had Krishna dancing on all of their heads. And Prabhupada was praying for all of us. Like the Nagapatnis, he was praying, Krishna, forgive these people. Give them your mercy. Dina hina yata chilo harinam udarilo tara sakshi jagai madhai. Jagai and Madhai are worshipped even today. In Katwa, near the banks of the Ganga, there is the samadhi of Madhai. Madhai was a murderer, a thief. He used to burn people's houses. He was everything evil he embodied. But again, a devotee prayed for him. Nityananda Prabhu. He prayed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, give him mercy. Kind of similar to the Nagapatnis praying to Krishna to be merciful to Kaliya. And on the basis of that intervention of a great devotee, and Jagai and Madhai, they were like Kaliya too. You know, when Lord Chaitanya manifested his Sudarshan chakra, they realized that they were on the verge of death, that they were insignificant. They became extremely humbled. And while they were humbled in fear, Nityananda prayed, and Lord Chaitanya gave them his mercy. And they became Paramhamsas. Worshipable. Even 450, almost 500 years later. It's actually over 500 years later. People go to pray for the blessings of Madhai. Hare Krishna. Because he surrendered. But there were so many very, very learned Brahmins. Nobody even knows their names. What to speak of praying for their blessings. So this is the nature of bhakti. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a great Brahmin. He surrendered. Jagai Madhai, they were dacoits. They surrendered. This is the power of bhakti. What the Brahmins couldn't get because they were too attached to their Brahminical ego, Kaliya got it because he had no ego left. It's an incredible story. And we can pray for the blessings of Kaliya. And we could learn so much from Kaliya. He's Krishna's eternal servant. You know, so many pundits, pujaris come and go, but Krishna still calls Kaliya to ride on him, even today. Because this is Nitya Leela. It's always happening somewhere in some universe. According to our acharyas, after the Nagapatnis, they brought all these gifts for Kaliya to give to Krishna. And he gave them he gave Krishna the best of everything he had. Wonderful garlands, necklaces, cloth. And Krishna came out of the water after sending Kaliya to his island in the ocean. And Kaliya and his wives went with him, and all the children went with him. The acharyas explain when Krishna came out of the lake, he wasn't wet. How do you come out of a lake without being wet? Because Kaliya was so thorough in his service to Krishna. Because Kaliya had a lot of servants. He was a king. Kaliya had his servants put their heads. They all had become purified along with Kaliya, because they were following in his footsteps, even though he didn't have feet. This is the beauty of bhakti. So many contradictions are inconceivably harmonized when we have bhava, when we have love. Follow in the footsteps of one who doesn't have feet. And one who can't even take a step. Because did you ever see a snake taking a step? They slither, they go zzz. So his servants, they put their hoods, after Kaliya surrendered, they put their hoods under Krishna's feet. So he was standing, and it wasn't like raised above, it was just water level. They were having their hoods, so you couldn't even see who they were. It wasn't they were coming up and saying, I am holding up the Supreme Personality of God. They were just humbly doing service. And then when Krishna was going to go from the lake, different serpents were coming like steps. And Krishna came out, and he was dry, and he had beautiful garlands and wonderful garments. And Balaram, it was Balaram's birthday, and he was so happy. Balaram knew that Krishna was in no danger. He was the only one who knew this. But still, Balaram was distressed. He was distressed to see the distress of all the Brijabasis. And he embraced Krishna, and Krishna embraced him. And Balaram, the older brother, put Krishna on his lap. And he looked at Krishna. For a long time, with such loving eyes, Baladev gazed upon Krishna. And as he was gazing with so much affection, he was examining his body to see if he had any injuries. And there was a circle of Rohini and Yashoda, and Nanda Maharaj was just behind them, and he couldn't contain himself. He just ran forward and embraced Krishna with so much love. Yashoda Mai, she put Krishna on her lap, and again, continuously embracing him, looking at him, embracing him, gazing at him, embracing him, gazing at him, embracing him. That was her sadhana. Prema Bhakti. Totally absorbed in her motherly love for Krishna. And all the cows and the bulls and the little calves, they were gazing upon Krishna with so much love, and Krishna was reciprocating with all of them. And Srimati Radharani and the younger gopis, they were a little distance, offering all of the infinite love of their hearts through their glances upon Krishna. And Krishna was receiving them and offering all the love of his hearts by little glances upon them. It was such a festival. And the Brahmins. The Brahmins, they said to Nanda Maharaj that by the grace of Lord Narayan, your son has been saved. Now, in order to protect him for the future, you should give in charity to the Brahmins. Some things never change. But of course, they were pure Brahmins. They were not thinking that this is a good scriptural excuse to make some money. They were genuinely, honestly, from the core of their hearts, because that's the culture. You bless your child by giving charity to Brahmins. So they were saying this only for Krishna's welfare. It wasn't for them, even though they were the ones who got the charity. They were doing it only for Krishna, for Krishna's welfare, out of love. And Nanda Maharaj started giving so many cows and gold to all the Brahmins. And they were happy because it was good for Krishna. All the Brijabasis and all the cows, after the whole experience of seeing Krishna in the coils of Kaliya for so long and seeing that beautiful dance, they couldn't give up his association. So they prayed to Krishna. We want to just keep looking at you, and we want to feel you looking at us. We don't want to go home, because if we go home, we'll all be, only Yashoda Maya will be with you. And even she puts you in your own room sometimes. So let's sleep here on the bank of the Yamuna. It was the summertime. So Krishna agreed. And they all just stayed on the bank of the Yamuna that night.